Hi, I'm John Tickles, and welcome to Remote RPGs. You know, what's more friggin' badass than a sword? Whether it's the Master Sword, the lightsaber, or the mighty pool noodle you use to battle your friends, swords have a special place in many of our hearts. This is why today's game is all about beating the shit out of your friends with a pool noodle. Well, it's not. But it should be. Summon Night Swordcraft story, everybody. Summon Night Swordcraft Story is a Game Boy Advance title that was released in North America on July 26, 2006 by Atlas, aka one of the most kick-ass companies out there if you love RPGs. The game never really caught on around here, despite the fact that the series continued to see 5 different titles as of 2014. I'm not even quite sure how I stumbled across this one. I guess I just saw the title of the game and thought it was cool. I can tell you that the game didn't disappoint the expectations I didn't really have though. It's a solid little gem that has some pretty damning problems, but it's still fun to play and has plenty of heart. Let's get into the story at least. The plot of the game is a little... what's the word?
Boring. Boring.
Fine.
Boring. Bored.
Dull. Sounds a bit dull. Dull, boring, predictable.
Well, that was tedious.
You're some kid with white hair because our protagonist has to stand out from the other spiky-haired ambitious teenagers somehow. And you're a craft knight, which means that you make your own weapons and then beat the crap out of people with them. You live with your mom because your father is dead as shit, and because you aren't allowed to have 2 happy parents in an RPG. Unless you're Battle Network, and even then, one parent has to have a haircut like this. Is that really a life worth living? Anyway, you get some customization here when you have to basically choose your sidekick to help you out through the game. And this is pretty cool, because the dialogue across the whole game changes based on what character you picked. And your attacks do as well, because these guys represent different elements. In terms of the actual plot, basically you're in a tournament trying to win the title of Craft Lord of Iron, your dead father's old title, and that's about it. No, honestly, that's really it. See, tournaments are usually a good plot device for an RPG, but this tournament spans the whole game, and in between that, there's a ton of random subplots. They're even more generic than the main plot, such as fighting pirates, traversing a labyrinth, and... oh, okay, wait, is it labyrinth or labyrinth? Because I got a lot of shit for that. Labyrinth. Labyrinth, not lab... You know what? Screw you guys, I say whatever I want. Tomato, tomato. Potato, potato. Where was I? Ugh. You know what a good sign that something you've experienced is worth something? You can remember it. Remember the Death Star run in Star Wars, or the terrible dialogue in The Room, or Kingdom Hearts, that game where Donald and Goofy kidnap a kid who really needs a haircut and try to sell him off to various Disney universes. A good sign a game has done something right is that it's memorable, good or bad. This game's story is bland and pretty forgettable, with unoriginal events. The only kind of memorable thing about the plot is the tournament portions, because some of the other contestants are giant douchebags who you get to really beat the shit out of, and that makes you really happy. It's the little things in life. And the dialogue in the game is kind of humorous. However, the story isn't anything harmful, it's just not memorable. Sadly, the characters in Summon Night Swordcraft Story are as bland as the plot, because they're all kind of predictable. They have energy, at least, though, but I don't know, that's kind of like saying my car has a radio. It's nice, but not noteworthy. You have Scenery, the classic bitch of video games, who's supposed to be the love interest for the male protagonist, keyword supposed. There's Razzie, a girl? Oh, I can't tell. Its dream is to become a craft lord in order to fill the city with flowers. Craft Lords leads to flowers for the world. Miles Edgeworth would shed a tear if he were here at this logic. Finally, there's Veril, the douchebag child prodigy who's full of himself, a totally original character concept. Von Karma would shed a tear if he were here. No, he wouldn't, because he's from Germany. There's also the 4 Guardian Beasts, one of which you receive at the beginning of the game with equal memorability. Rasho is the fire-using demon beast, a douchebag who's a dick because he's shy on the inside. There's Zantek, an airplane submarine hybrid robot. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't make this up. He speaks in stars, which the protagonist can apparently understand. I personally wish I paid more attention to my star language class. There's the Guardian Beast that I got on my playthrough, Cuddy. Thank God you can change the names. And he's basically a Pokemon reject who only says his name. So name him something humorous, please. Finally, there's Sugarette, a fairy who looks like she should have been a cyber elf from Mega Man Zero. She's my favorite Guardian Beast simply because she tries to hit on the protagonist, regardless of the gender. This leads to the super secret lesbian ending. Did I say this plot wasn't memorable? I was clearly playing with the wrong character configuration. This game is officially 10 out of 10, A+, orgasm inducing, please play. That's all the characters, and you can probably see that they and the plot are undoubtedly the weakest part of the game. Not that they're particularly bad, again, just nothing stands out. You'll have fun, just don't expect to care too much for the plot or the characters too much. But thankfully, the gameplay is where this game really shines. The game has a lot of classic RPG elements, where you see an overhead view when you're out of battle, you can buy equipment, use spells, and soon suffer from a crippling addiction to health potions. There are level ups, equipment management, and a lot of items to collect. You'll spend most of the game alternating between town, a tournament fight, and the game's one super long dungeon. Yes, there's only one real dungeon in the game, and that's not really fun, but it does simplify things at least. Your basic goal is to get deeper and deeper into the dungeon over the course of the game. Other than that, there's a decent sized town to explore, and some things to see and do. The game is pretty short. I don't think it clocked over 20 hours if memory serves me correct, but there's a lot of replay value with all the different playstyles, partners you can get, and characters you can choose to spend time with. Guys, we got lesbian relationships here, and maybe we just gotta work on a little man and hybrid robot plane submarine action. Hey, don't judge me, just think of what the children would look like. Well, I know you guys were all expecting me to Photoshop something clever, but I'm really too lazy for that. And I think that is against my religion. So here's something else slightly entertaining enough to make you forget my laziness. The most unique mechanics in this game is in the smithing system. See, instead of buying weapons from shops, you actually get to make them yourself using techniques obtained from people and enemies, and materials obtained from dungeons. However, if you block too much or use your weapon too much in battle, then your weapon durability reaches 0 and the weapon breaks. This has never happened to me, but it keeps you from relying on your weapon too much. There are 5 different kinds of weapons: the sword, spears, axes, knuckles, and drills. The sword is the most balanced of the 5, being the most dexterous weapon. The spear has long reach, but has low attack speed. The axe is powerful and has a useful knock-up attack, but it has short reach. The knuckles can string up the biggest combos, but have short range and run out of durability the fastest. Finally, the drill has some nice combos and is longer than the knuckles or the axe, but it kinda sucks in all the other categories. Overall, I think you're just best off using the sword, because it's the jack of all trades. I just personally chose to use it because I am the greatest swordsmaster on the planet. 100%. You want a little taste of what I can do? Look and fear me. The battles in this game are the best portion of it. When exploring the dungeon, you'll run into a random battle pretty quickly. When you get into battle, the game will transition into a 2D RPG action beat-em-up side-scroller style. Ever played through Tales of Phantasia? Well, this is basically a note-for-note copy of that battle system, with you being able to run and jump around. This is the most fun you'll have in the game because it's a great action RPG system. The controls and hit detection are actually pretty tight, and there's a huge variety of ways you can fight. There are many different types of attacks and magic you can use, support magic, attack magic, everything with certain pros, cons, and preferences. Your summon beasts affect your magic attacks, and you can call them into battle to help you out. You can dodge, you can dip, duck, dive, dodge, and block. Aside from that, each weapon type has its own advantages and disadvantages, as I mentioned, but it really just comes down to personal preference. The only one I never ended up trying was the drill because it just seemed really weird, though after watching Gurren Lagann, I'm willing to reconsider this if I play this game again. The main thing to keep in mind for battles is that your weapons can be broken, again, if you aren't careful, but you can avoid that by switching weapons. See, in battle you get up to 3 weapons and you can switch them mid-battle, which is pretty useful and kind of fun for strategy. You can also repair them, so don't worry too much about breaking your weapon. And on the other hand, you can break your enemy's weapon sometimes too, which is a little rarer, but it came into play sometimes, and it's a pretty cool idea. There's a lot of ways to go about battle. To top it all off, the difficulty isn't too sporadic either. It's not well crafted. You'll definitely have some issues with supposedly easier bosses, but a little bit of strategy, customization, maybe a little power leveling, and skill will get you past most challenges. The game doesn't require you to be too twitchy or particularly action oriented, but as long as you can block, dodge, and time attacks intelligently, you should be okay. Then again, there are some battles you just have to power your way through, showing no regard for your life, which I ended up doing a lot. It's a really genuinely fun battle system, pretty simple, and one where you power level just for fun, not because you have to. It's really good especially for a handheld game. The game's music is catchy and great for its time, but not iPod worthy. I literally don't carry one of these songs on my iPod, and pretty much every game I played, for the most part, I at least have one song on my iPod. There's not too much I can say about the music, other than the fact it was there. It's like the fishing minigame in Ocarina of Time, where it's not bad, you just might not have noticed it, unless you're into that. This metaphor sucks. The graphics in the game are pretty good. I really liked how they kind of merged steampunk and medieval style. The game has a lot going for it, and the look of it is definitely one of the more memorable parts. Both the characters and enemy designs are fun to look at, and the game is decently colorful for a Game Boy Advance game. Nothing mind-blowing, but pretty impressive. In conclusion, Summon Night Swordcraft Story isn't the most well-polished or memorable game on the GBA, but it has some heart and you'll have some fun with it. A big part of its appeal is that it's a portable title with a ton of replay value, and it's just a nice little mindless action RPG that you can have a lot of fun with if you're in the mood for that. I do recommend it, even if I did say some bad stuff about the story and characters, just go have fun with it. And if smashing enemies isn't enough, then just go smash children with your pool noodle, because kids are weak and they probably won't hurt you back. Oh what? What? Ugh. I'm John Tickles, and I look forward to our next random encounter, after I'm bailed out for telling you to abuse children. Don't abuse children with pool noodles.